So by now, most of you have probably heard the official ruling in the Kylie Rodney case as accidental. And this is a turning point for a lot of people. For those that believed all along that this was nothing more than a tragic accident, I'm sure that they're feeling satisfied. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, like they feel victorious, because, they don't. There is a loss of a young girl's life here involved, but satisfied in that they believe that the correct ruling has been made and that perhaps this will give a sense of peace and closure to the family and maybe even to Kylie herself. For those who never accepted the accident theory and still don't, today's very frustrating. There is a sense of sadness among a lot of YouTubers that have covered the case and their viewers who just feel like it was not the correct ruling, and that there's frustration now because the answers that they so desperately feel, are still out there will never be sought. So for people that think that, YouTubers, myself included, and other true crime YouTubers, both big and small, are just in it for the money or are exploiting families and especially victims, I don't think a lot of people realize that, myself and, some of my counterparts that I have had extensive conversations with, that is so far from the truth. Days like this are actually very heavy on our heart and on our mind. You can't talk about a case for days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months, without becoming very emotionally connected to it. And when something like this happens, that you feel like a case has ended potentially in a way that leaves you unsettled and feeling like there has not been justice, it is very difficult and it is very heavy, and it is not something at all, that we celebrate. We don't celebrate the, end of one case and then on to the next, big thing. That's not the way that it goes. It stays with you. For those that have covered the Summer Wells case, we still go to bed at night thinking about it, even though we're not covering it as actively because it's kind of at a standpoint right now, standstill. I'm sorry. There's not a lot to talk about. There's not much going on, at least maybe until Dawn gets home. And all these other cases pop up. I've been looking obviously at the Quentin Simon case, but it's hard. It's really hard to jump into another case when you feel like you have these other ones just hanging over you. So be kind. Be kind. For those that, continuously accuse us of going after notoriety, attention, or money, there's a lot of feelings involved when you're covering cases like this. I'm telling you, I really am. And for myself, I still believe that there's a lot more to the Kylie Rodney case. I'm not surprised, but I'm very sad that it has been concluded this way. Now, Adventures with Purpose, who has been hailed a hero to many, promised us that if the case went in this direction and answers were not given, and people were not held accountable, I'm paraphrasing, that they still had a lot of information. Trash truck is here, it's suddenly very loud, that they would release. So I guess, we have a little bit of hope in that. I hope that they're true to their word, and I hope that, something is released, because they certainly, did put that out there, that they had a lot more information and that they would release it if and when the time was needed. So to Adventures with Purpose, the time is now. And I hope that you fulfill that promise, because a lot of people are counting on you to keep to your word on that. So let me know all of your thoughts. Are you feeling that this is a closed case? Are you feeling satisfied with what you've heard? Do you still feel like there's so much more that needs to be accounted for and people that need to be held accountable? I'm so sorry. You know, the trash truck, the dogs. I even came outside to try to make it quieter, but you know how my life goes. Those of you that watch me on any type of consistent basis know this is just the way it is. It's a shit show all the time. Plunder did a great video where she really broke down the autopsy report and some of the other reports that followed. I will give you this trigger warning. It's a lot to read, whether you choose to read it on your own or you choose to watch Plunder. She reads it out loud and just lets you read along. There's a lot of talk in it, obviously, about the decompensation. I said decompensation. That is very difficult to listen to or read when you know that you're talking about a real person, a young girl. It's pretty graphic, you know. It's medical terminology. It's very descriptive. So I do give you that warning. But if you want to jump over there and check it out, if you haven't already read it for yourself, you know, it's all there in its entirety and gives you a real sense of how they went about it and how they came to their conclusions. And then get back to me and tell me your thoughts on it, you know, on the whole thing, on the ruling, on the investigation and autopsy after you have a chance to look them over. Do you think it was thorough? Do you think that they came to the right conclusion? I was a little thrown off by the alcohol, you know, because the way it's written is, even though the level is there, it kind of makes you think that a great part of that number could be related to just the decomposure. So I'm not really sure about that number. That really left me kind of raising an eyebrow. You know, that didn't seem real conclusive to me. Other than that, you know, she had some marijuana and, you know, caffeine in her system, but for the kind of accident that we're talking about and the way that people described her, that she was like unable to even stand without falling in holes and all of this, I've never personally seen anybody do any of that with just marijuana. So I'm a little surprised that the alcohol content wasn't much higher, or that there wasn't other things in her system. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts on all of that, because that kind of threw me a little bit. So tell me what you're thinking. All right. Have a great day. Bye.